Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is part 20 for a step-by-step guide to learn Angular and part 2 for JWT authentication. So if you are directly coming to this video, I will recommend you to watch previous video first and then you can come to this video. These are the topics we are going to cover in this complete video series, and this is the application we are developing in this video series. So let's start. So these are the few steps to start with JWT token. So step one is in the API, we need this two token. One is system.identityModel.token.jwt and Microsoft.ASP.core.authentication.jwt bearer. So first one is required for JWT token and second one is for checking the JWT bearer token. So let's add that package in our API. In the package managers and console, let's search for JWT token and click on install. And after installation, click on OK and yeah, we can see it's installed. Similarly, let's add other token and click on install. Click OK, click accept, and it's installed. You can find this both the package in the description block. After adding the required packages, next step is to add the JWT settings in the configuration file, which consists secret key, issuer name, and intended audience and expiration time. So let's open our Visual Studio, and to define this in the settings, we need to open our app settings.json file. And as we define our connection string, similar to that, we need to define our JWT settings. Here let's add the JWT settings, and under that in the key let's define the something very big string. It can be anything, but try to add some special characters and some big key, and yeah, you can give anything. And now let's define issuer. So issuer is our API, and now next we need to define audience. So audience is our to-do API users, and also we need to define minute to expiration, so that is 10 minutes. Also let's add our issue API URL in the issuer. So let's copy it and paste it here. That's all. And also we need one model class which consists all these properties. So I am going to create that and also just rename this to small e, and let's go back to security folder and create one model class that's called JWT settings. Right click on security folder, select class and give name as JWT settings, click OK. Then we are defining properties, so here give string and give key. Let's copy this for all the properties, so let's paste it here. And now let's check for name, it's issuer, so let's paste it here. The second is audience, so it's audience, and then minimum to expiration, minute to expiration, and change this to capital letter. Now next step, I'm going to create instance of this class and define our configuration values in this properties. So let's open startup.cs and start. So after configure, I'm going to create one new method which is returning JWT settings, and method name is get JWT settings. And now let's create a new instance JWT settings class, and now define the properties. So key will be our configuration, and under that we will have JWT settings and colon and then key, and give a comma, and let's copy this. And now I'm giving issuer. Let's paste it here and change the name to issuer. Let's copy it again, and now I'm giving it as a audience. Let's copy and paste, and now it should be minimum length to expiration, and let's return our settings object and also convert it to integer. That's all. But I can see error because this should be a int type, so and we define it as a string, so let's change this to integer and save this. So now we should not get error, so let's verify. Yeah, so we are not getting error now. So we are done with the defining the JWT settings in the configuration file, and we created a class for that. Now next step is to register our JWT as a authentication service. So for that we need to go to our configuration service method in the startup.cs file, and we need to add authentication there and tell that that's a JWT bearer authentication. So let's start. So here in the startup.cs file, first let's get this JWT settings in one instance. So I'm creating a JWT settings equals to get JWT setting. Let's save this. And now I'm going to add authentication, and I'm going to register that authentication service here. So let's see in the service we are having 8 authentication, and under that we are having this 3 different overload versions. So this is the default schema, and another one is to pass authentication options. So I'm going to use that authentication options here, and I'm going to pass this option as a lambda expression, and let's see what we can define here. It's options dot, we can see this as a default authentication scheme. So let's select this, and here I am telling that it's a JWT bearer authentication. Now next step is options dot default challenge scheme, and here also I am going to tell that this is also JWT bearer. And here I have one method that's called add JWT bearer, and this is also having 4 overload version. So I am going to use this third one. So first we need to give authentication scheme name, so that should be the same JWT bearer. So let's give this, and second one is pass the configuration options. So JWT options. So here under the JWT options, we are having that token validation parameters. So that we need to define. So what is the type of that? That's a type of token validation parameter class. So let's say token validation parameter equals to new to token validation parameters. And here we can define our values which we defined in our settings. So first we can define here is a validate issuer sign-in key. So we need to tell that as a true. Next we are having issuer sign-in key. So this is a, let's see that our type of this is a type of security key. So I'm going to create one symmetric security key here. So let's create a new instance, and I am giving as a symmetric security key, and in the constructor we can pass pass the encoding type. So that is we defined in our settings in the configuration file. So let's see, encoding dot utf8 dot get bytes, and let's take our settings object, and under that we are having key. Now next, we need to tell that do we need to validate our issuer or not. So let's tell that yes, validate our issuer, and let's define our issuer. So our valid issuer is, that is also we are having in our settings object, settings dot issuer. Yeah. Now next I need to tell that what is the, do we need to validate audience. So I'm telling that yes, validate the audience. So validate audience, and here also I'm telling true, and let's define our valid audience. That is also we are having under the settings audience. And now we need to define the where how long it is expire, and what is the lifetime for that. So let's say valid lifetime. So I'm telling yes, and let's define the clock for that. So it's time span dot from minutes, and we define minutes in our settings object. So let's give settings dot minute to expire, and let's add a semicolon here. And now we need to define our JWT settings as a singleton, so that we can inject that instance to our controller. So let's do this. Service dot add singleton and the type of JWT settings, and under that I am going to pass our settings object. Now let's open our controller class. So that's a user details controller, and here in the constructor now I can add our JWT settings, and let's add one read only JWT settings object. Give JWT settings, and let's assign that JWT settings from constructor. And same thing I'm going to do in the security manager class, because we need to inject that JWT settings there also. So let's copy this, go to security manager, go to constructor, and here let's paste it here. Let's go back, let's copy this read only and paste it here. Let's go back and again copy this JWT settings equals to JWT settings and paste it. So after saving that, we will get error in our user controller because we need to pass JWT settings from our controller when we are creating an instance. So we can see this right here. So let's go back and let's pass our JWT settings object and save this. Now let's go to our security manager class. So here still we are having that bearer token as a mock token static string. So now I'm going to create one method that will build our JWT token and return it to our build user author object. So let's start creating that method. So it's a private, return type should be a string, and name should be build JWT token, and it will accept our user authentication object. So let's paste it here and auth obj, and now in this first we need to add claims. We are having some standard claims for JWT. So first I'm going to add that claims, and later we will add our defined claims that's can access to do and can access dashboard and can access admin. So let's start. So here list of claim. So that is under system.security. So let's take that, and I'm giving a name as a JWT claim equals to new list of claim. And now let's add first standard claim. So JWT claim dot add, and here create a new instance of claim class, and we can see different overload version in the constructor. So I'm going to use this one as type and value. So the type of standard claim is JWT registered claim names. So dot sub. So JWT register claim names dot we are having sub, and the value we can give the username here. So our username is email. So let's give auth object, and under that we will have our username. So this is a one standard claim. Let's add another one, and that is called JTI. So let's change this up to JTI, and here we need to pass one unique key. So I'm going to use GUID here, and I'm going to use that method's new GUID. So this will generate one new key, and let's cast this to string because our constructor second parameter accept string value. So we need to cast this to a string. So this is two claims, standard claims, but we are having some our own claims. So let's add that as well. So let's paste this, and our first claim is auth obj dot is authorized, is authenticated. Okay, and we are having value as a is authenticated. Second one is and let's paste it here, and we are having can access admin. Let's copy this as well and paste it here. For now, let's ignore the errors. We will work on that in the later part. And again, paste it here, and let's see what else we are having. After can access admin, we are having can access dashboard. So let's add this as well and paste it here. And we are having after dashboard can access to do. So let's copy this as well and paste it here. So our both the parameters are accepting a string value, but we passed object. So this is not a correct. So let's change this. So I'm going to remove this and I am going to pass this as a string, and let's rename this to small I. Here also let's make this key as a string, and here also convert this to string, and same for to do key as well. And values also we are expecting as a string, but this is a boolean value, so we need to convert that to a string. So I can use dot to string, and let's add to lower here. So it will convert our string true or false value in the lower class, lower character, sorry. So let's copy this and paste it here, paste it here as well, and paste it for today as well. So now we are not having any errors for our claims, and we have successfully added claims in our claims list. So in the next step, I need to pass this claims to our token. So for that, I need to create an instance for our token. So let's start for that. So I am giving as a variable token equals to new, and we are creating JWT token. So let's see JWT security token. This is our under the identity model dot tokens dot jwt. So I am selecting this one, and when we open the constructor, we can see different options. So in the first option, we need to pass our issuer. So let's pass our issuer, and issuers we are having in our settings object. So let's give it from our JWT settings dot issuer. Next, I need to define the audience, and that is also we are having in our JWT settings object. Next, we can see we need to define claims. So claims we created our JWT claims object, and next we can see we have to define not before. So this is we can give the time for now, date time dot UTC now, and next we are having expiry. So expiration time we need to define. So that is also we are having in our settings object. So let's convert it into date time. Let's say UTC now dot add minutes, and what minutes we need to add? We need to add from our JWT settings object, minute to expiration. And the last, if I will add comma here, I can see one more thing. That's our signing credentials. So let's take this one, and in the signing credentials I'm going to create a new instance of this class, new signing in credentials. And we can see in the constructor we need a key and the algorithm. So for now let's give an empty string for key, and algorithm I'm going to use is a security algorithm dot. We are having different options, so I am going to use is a HMAC, and we can see this 256. So this one I'm going to use. Now we have successfully created our token. Now I need to tell my JWT security handler to write this token that will convert that to a string, and that string we are going to return from our method. So let's add a return object here, and let's create a new JWT security token handler class. And here we are having different methods, so I'm going to use this write token, and under that I can pass our above token object. So let's pass it here and save this. So now I can see error here. So it is, what is the error? Yeah, so this is because of a conflict between the two namespace having the same class. So let's remove additional one. So let's remove this using a statement, and now let's come back. So now I'm not seeing any error, and here we missed it to add the closing statement. So this is also fixed, and here we are expecting the valid key. So let's create our key variable key equals to new, it should be a symmetric security key, yeah, this one. And under that we need to pass the byte. So similarly as we encoded it previously, same way, encoding class, under that we are having UTF-8, and under that we are having get bytes, and inside that we need to pass the character. So let's read it our key from our JWT settings object. So JWT settings dot, and let's pass this key here. And now we make a lot of changes, so let's rebuild our solution and let's see if it is succeed or not. So build is succeed. Now we need to use our this build JWT token method. So now let's come back to our original method, that is build a user authentication object, and here I'm going to call this build JWT token. So let's say obj dot, and I should keep it inside. So obj dot bearer token equals to build JWT token, and we need to pass user authentication object. So let's pass this obj, and let's remove this static value from here. Also in the startup.cs file, we need to tell our application to use authentication. So let's add it, and also make sure you're adding it before user routing. This order is matter. So app.use authentication and save this. So now we are done with all changes. So let's run our application, and let's open our Postman, and here we have login method. So I'm going to use the same email which I registered earlier, and previously we were getting the static bearer token. So now after the implementation, let's see if we are getting the correct token or not. So yeah, now I'm getting this user authentication object with the status 200, and I can see is authenticated is true, and instead of that static token I am getting bearer token now. So now quickly let's verify our authorization is also working or not. So for that I'm going to add one new request here. So in the here we are having add request. I'm giving as a get user details and save this, and here I'm giving the URL is this one. Let's paste it, and now let's click on send. So I'm getting a response. Now let's add a authorization keyword, and I want only valid user to see all these details. So let's go to user details controller, and this is our get method. So what I want is only authorized user should see the details here. So I can add one keyword here that's called authorize, and that's it. Now let's stop this, and run it again. Now in the Postman, let's click on send button again, and now as I am not a valid user, so I should not see the details what I received previously. So let's click on send, and now I can see I received 401 unauthorized. So now how can I see the details? I need to pass my bearer token in the headers, then I can get the request. So let's quickly check that also. So first quickly generate one new fresh bearer token, and let's copy this. Let's go back to our user details, and in the authorization we are having different type of authorization here. So I'm taking as a bearer token, and here I can add our key. And now let's save this and click on send again. So I received a response again. That's all for this video. In the next video, we will work on our login screen. So in the UI, we will pass username and password, and then we will get the token, bearer token from our API, and we will store that in the session storage, and we will work on our authentication and authorization part. So thank you for watching.